Afternoon, welcome, and thank you for joining us today for this virtual town hall. And it's focused on addressing economic recovery, COVID-19, census, and the future of Rio Grande City and Stark County. I'm Cuellar, mayor of the great city of Rio Grande City. And joining me today is a group of exceptional individuals. We have with us U.S. Congressman Henry Cuellar. Also with us is, go ahead.
No, I said, hello, how are you?
We have with us State Representative Ryan Guillen, Stark County Judge Eloy Vera, Local Health Authority Dr. Jose Vasquez.
Good afternoon, Mayor, and thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for joining us. And our goal today is to deliver updates to address concerns and answer specific questions from the general public. Just by the way, FYI, we are having a tremendous bit of rain, should I say, here in Rio Grande City, which is much needed rain, and we're blessed to have. So should we experience any technical difficulties, please bear with us, and we'll join you back up again as soon as we're able to. So again, much needed rain, and that is thank you to our good Lord for giving us this rain. To introduce our first speaker, I extend a heartfelt thank you to our community for your continued cooperation and efforts during this global pandemic. And our community has demonstrated a resiliency, resolve to tackle the challenges that are inherent in this crisis. And for that, certainly thank you. And it's a heartfelt thank you. Thank you to our first responders, our frontline workers. Thank you for your commitment to serve others. And thank you to our medical, educational, and business communities for sacrificing and doing what is necessary to remain afloat. And thank you to our local, state, and federal government employees for your dedication, the time, the commitment. It is certainly greatly appreciated. And sincerely, thank you to everyone for your efforts and sacrifices that you have made during this global pandemic. It has been a collaborative effort by many entities and many individuals, private and public sectors, to address some of the concerns and be able to be where we're at today. Muy buenas tardes, bienvenidos y gracias por acompañarnos el día de hoy. Es un gran placer de estar con ustedes para traerles And again, please bear with us. I know that sometimes technology is we're still accommodating to it. So thank you for bearing with us, and we'll get back to our presenters. We have with us, of course, a friend, a champion to our community is U.S. Congressman Henry Cuellar. And I'll go ahead and turn the floor over to you, Congressman. And thank you very much for being with us today. Go ahead, U.S. Congressman.
Thank you again, Mayor Villarreal. Thank you for putting this together. And I want to thank all the media that are joining us from Hidalgo and from Stark County. Certainly want to thank Ryan Guillen for the work that he does in Austin. Judge Vera, you've been a friend of mine for many years. So I appreciate our friendship and the leadership that you provide there. Dr. Jose Vasquez, again, thank you for what you've been doing. And I also have a couple of guests with me, Roberto Gomez and Angela Burton, and I'll let them speak after I speak. After everybody speaks, I would like them to speak and talk about what the USDA rule development work has been, and of course, what SBA has been working on. And I want to thank both of them because we've had, I think this is the third time we do this. We were with Zapata, LaSalle, McMullen, so they've been with me almost a whole day among doing other things. So I want to thank SBA and USDA, and they can go into some of the details. But look, let me just go over a couple things. You know, what we're looking at, we haven't seen anything like this since 1918. We learned some lessons from 1918, social distancing, hygiene, certain things like that. We've learned certain things. What's different is now the technology and the innovation. So we got the best minds, the brightest minds in our country and across the world that are looking for treatments and for vaccines. Vaccines will take 12 to 18 months. Treatments will be a little faster, but we're working on that right now. We put in billions of dollars for research in that particular area. Both civilians and the military also are working on this. And as we're working on this, there will be certain lessons that will be learned from this, and we'll talk about this toward the end. But I would say there are 4 things we have to look at as we debate the health of the individual and the health of the economy. The health of the individual is very, very, very important. And we Dr. Vasquez will talk about that. But the health of the economy, we haven't seen a hit on the economy like this in so many years. And I know right now I'm part of the White House task force. In fact, we have a meeting, and I've submitted some of my proposals to the White House. It's a bipartisan White House task force. I think the governor's heading up there to the White House tomorrow around the same time that we'll be talking. And there's 2 things we have to look at: the health of the individual, the health of the economy. How we get to healthy the economy where it's a face-in situation, we have to answer 4 questions. 4 questions. 1, do we have enough testing? And I'll ask each of you to answer that question in your mind. Do we have enough testing? 2, do we have a system that allows us to monitor and track and trace the positive cases? Answer that in your mind. Number 3, are the hospitals working in a non-crisis mode? That's number 3. Answer that question in your mind. And then the 4th one is, do we have 2 weeks of a downward trend of positive cases? If we're able to answer those questions, we can start talking about opening up the economy. So I say that because, and I'll finish with this, Congress has voted 4 times for 4 pieces of legislation. Just so you know, with the trillions, not the millions, not the billions, but the trillions of dollars that we've added, we are going to have a deficit, a large deficit at the end of the year. So I say this, we're going to continue voting, supporting the small businesses, the hospitals. There's a big debate right now, Judge. There are some folks on the other side of the party that feels that we should not help states, or we should not help cities or counties. I think we do. But at the same time, you got to understand that the federal government cannot continue this forever. But we do need to help you because we know your revenues are down. So there are debates are coming up. I don't want to go into too many details right now. I'll be happy to answer any questions. But there will be another vote, and maybe next week there's an agreement. If it's not next week, it'll be the following week, because we got to get an agreement on CARES Act 2. And again, this will be not in the millions or billions, but probably in the trillions of dollars again. So I say that just to give you a quick overview of what we're doing in Congress. And then after the presenters, I'd like to have both Roel Gomez from USDA talk about some of the funding, and then Angela Burton from SBA to talk about the difference between PPP, the payroll protection, paycheck protection plan that you go through your lenders. And we expanded that from banks to cover credit unions and other non-traditional lenders also, and to the EIDLs, which is the $10,000 grant that you can apply for. So there's two different sources of funding. The first one, the PPP, you go to your lender, the bank that you know better, or the credit union that you know better. And then the EIDL, you go through the SBA, that's a $10,000 grant. And it's not only for small businesses, but it now covers agriculture, ranchers, monies that are available also. And I'll let Angela and Roel cover that. So that's a quick overview. I know that you got Ryan and Lloyd, Dr. Vasquez, and then I'd like to hear at the end from Roel Gomez and Angela Burton as the guests. And I want to thank them. They've been with me the whole day. Literally, this is the fourth county that we do today.
Fantastic. And we'll come back around to them, Congressman Cuellar, is that obviously that's information that people must hear. And what we'll do is at the end of all presenters, turn it over for a live Q&A, and we'll be answering some of those questions. Next, we have our local health authority, Dr. Vasquez.
Mayor, thank you very much. Judge, Congressman, Representative, it is an honor for me to be here in this panel with you all. I like to start our presentation mentioning that our number of cases has remained very low and steadily low throughout the different weeks that we have been facing this pandemic situation. We have been in constant communication between each one of us, as well as with the Texas Department of Health. I think that the key in our success here is that we have been able to put a team where we have been really working together in a controlled environment, that it is allowing us to keep track on each one of the cases that we are facing. We are being able to follow up with their contacts, and we are able basically to monitor how these patients have been evolving and how many contacts possible they have had throughout the time. That has allowed us to keep our numbers steadily low throughout these weeks. It is been a challenge. I think that we have had a lot of cooperation given by our community. I believe that our community, throughout the different organizations that represent each one of our citizens, have contributed in an enormous way to the success that we have today. The county, the mayors, the school districts, the hospital district, and all the community together have put their efforts and have followed the indications that we have been giving. I think that it's been instrumental that we have been taking significant steps towards keeping the populations isolated, keeping the spreading of the disease at the lowest level possible, and protecting the most vulnerable of our citizens. Since the beginning, we have protected the elderly and the chronically ill patients. The nursing homes in our county, the 2 nursing homes that we have, are going through all of this pandemic without any cases, which is a reason to be very happy. The adult daycare centers has followed the indications to close since early in the process, and we are happy to announce that we have not had any admissions in our hospital with COVID-related cases. So that answers somehow one of the questions that the congressman have about the hospital status in this pandemic. We have not had, throughout the whole 6 weeks that we are going through right now, any cases of COVID-related illness in Starr County Memorial Hospital. Our community, for a period of 21 days, did not have any positive case whatsoever. We have had, since the last week, 3 different cases, 2 reported throughout the drive-through facility that we have placed in the STC campus, and 1 more through the testing initiative that Governor Abbott had implemented in some of the rural counties in Texas. We are in close collaboration with TDH, following those 3 cases that we have actively or currently active as a positive cases, and we are keeping track on the possible contact that these people have had. Other than that, I am proud to announce that we have started a strong testing initiative, not just for the RT-PCR test required in order to make the diagnosis, but also in the serological test, the IgMs and IgGs, that will allow us to know more or less what is the map of our county. How is this disease prevalent in our county, and what type of groups is being affecting the most? We have started with the hospital district. We have finished testing 280 employees. We have come with a prevalence rate in the hospital district of 10%. Those are 10% of people that have been exposed to the virus. Does not mean that they are sick or that they have the disease. It just means that they have been exposed to the virus and they have developed the proper antibodies to offer some immunity. We don't know whether this is going to be a permanent immunity or is something temporary, but we work with what we have at this point. I believe that as the weeks go by and the time passes, technology is going to get better and better. The testing material is going to be more accurate, more specific, and it will get cheaper, which is going to be a key factor in trying to reopen, in trying to be back in business. As the Congressman mentioned, testing is fundamental in that task. Without testing, to try to open or to resume daily activities is going to be a difficult task because we are going to be doing this blindly. So throughout testing, we will know the people at risk, the people that is already being exposed, and with defense, and that will allow us to decide how are we going to be enforcing this reopening activity. Other than that, we are well aware a solution for this problem is nowhere close in time. As the Congressman mentioned, yes, vaccines are perhaps a year and a half away, and medications or effective treatment is being researched actively throughout the world. There are some promising medications in the pipeline. However, those medications are mostly related with people that are already sick enough to be admitted in hospitals. They are not intended to be treating the general population that had a mild disease. With that said, we don't have any other option than to continue trying to avoid exposure, to mitigate and try to control the spreading of this disease, and once again, to be protecting the most vulnerable people that we have in our communities.
Thank you, Dr. Vasquez. And if you don't mind, if you can summarize the key points for our Spanish-speaking audience.
Ciertamente. El condado Estrella, a través de las diferentes organizaciones que tienen asuntos que ver con la infección del COVID-19, ha puesto en marcha iniciativas para tratar de mitigar y controlar esta enfermedad. A través de las diversas semanas que hemos llevado en este proceso, hemos dado o nos hemos dado cuenta que todas esas actividades que hemos puesto en funcionamiento han tenido un impacto muy positivo en el número de casos, así como en el controlar la diseminación de esta enfermedad en nuestra comunidad. De forma gratificante, puedo decir que durante las 6 semanas que llevamos en el proceso de esta enfermedad no ha habido ningún caso de pacientes hospitalizados en el hospital de Stark County por cuestiones de salud que tengan relación con el COVID. No hemos tenido que transferir pacientes con COVID desde nuestro hospital a ninguna de las instalaciones en McAllen. Nuestras unidades de cuidados intensivos o las camas de cuidados intensivos y así como los ventiladores no se han utilizado absolutamente. Entonces, una de las funciones fundamentales que teníamos desde el principio cuando hablábamos de mantener la curva baja, el flattening the curve, era prevenir que el sistema de salud estuviera saturado. Con orgullo podemos decir que nuestro sistema de salud se ha mantenido intocable, se ha mantenido intacto, entonces estamos con toda la capacidad de poder hacer frente a casos de COVID que se puedan presentar en el futuro. Sin embargo, creemos que a través de toda la colaboración que hemos tenido con la comunidad, así como las diferentes entidades que han tenido que ver con este problema, hemos logrado mantener este nivel de diseminación de la enfermedad a niveles asombrosamente bajos. Es razón de orgullo el poder decir que durante más de 21 días no tuvimos ningún caso positivo en nuestra comunidad. Desde hace una semana y media, se han presentado 3 casos diferentes, 2 identificados a través de la actividad de testing en el STC y 1 a través de la actividad de test que inició el gobernador Abbott en nuestra comunidad. Hasta el momento se han hecho 755 estudios del swab, el RT-PCR, 755 en nuestro condado. El número total de casos son 10. En este momento el número de casos activos son solamente 3. Los otros 7 pacientes, uno solo de ellos requirió ser hospitalizado durante unos días en McAllen y ha sido dado de alta hace más de 3 semanas. Todos los casos han disfrutado durante todo este tiempo de buena salud y se han recuperado completamente. Los 3 últimos casos que todavía no hemos dado de alta están en proceso de recuperación también. Tienen una enfermedad relativamente leve y no ha habido complicaciones mayores asociadas a la infección de COVID en ninguno de ellos. Están 2 de ellos por terminar la cuarentena al final de esta semana y el otro apenas la empezó el lunes, así que tiene 13 días más por delante. Sin embargo, el número sigue siendo un número muy controlado, muy bajo. Esperamos que a través del tiempo y ahora con el proceso de reapertura a la economía en el estado de Texas, no vayamos a ver un repunte en el pico del número de casos que estamos viendo aquí.
Thank you. Muchísimas gracias, Dr. Vasquez. And with us today is also our County Judge Eloy Vera. Judge Vera.
Yes, Mayor. Thank you so much for having us. I guess what I'd like to talk about is I had a meeting this morning with the Attorney General, his personnel, and our Senator, and they went over the new order that the governor had signed into action that took effect immediately. And what it does, it pretty much opens up the remaining businesses that had been closed. However, we're getting ready, or I'm getting ready to get an order done because the order that we had before expired. But we're going to pass a new order, a new emergency order, and it will have all the details pretty much as the governor set out. Now, for example, the beauty shops, barber shops, the nail salons, plus other establishments that were open, they are open, or they will be open Friday. However, there are a lot of restrictions to them, that they need to follow. So that's the reason we're getting this order done. And certainly we're going to pass it on to Dr. Vasquez and all the mayors so that y'all can have input and see, if we all agree with it. But it's pretty much what the governor is asking. But I want to have some type of I guess control is not the word, but some type of say, because like Dr. Vasquez just stated, everyone has worked so hard to get the numbers to where they are. It would be foolish just to now open everything up and let those numbers skyrocket. I don't think that's what anyone wants. I don't think that's what Starr County wants. So we're going to do everything that's in our power to keep those numbers down as low as we can. Now, having said that, a lot of this depends on the community, because a lot of this is certainly not enforceable. We just don't have the resources to enforce. So like I've said many times before, a lot of this is just on the honor system. And Starr County residents have proved that they will honor our request. Just the numbers themselves speak for that. So I'm very confident that the majority of our people in their community will still wear their masks. They'll still keep the social distancing. They'll still keep the sanitizing. I mean, everything that's needed, I'm sure they're going to keep it. Now, the stay-at-home order has been lifted by the governor. However, I think we all need to encourage our citizens to practice the stay-at-home as much as you can, especially those that are over 65. If you don't have to go out, don't go out. This virus will move from one person to another. So if you don't have any contact, you're not going to get it. And if you have the virus, you're not going to expose it to anyone else. So this is extremely important. And I will have an order by tomorrow afternoon that I will give to the mayors and Dr. Vasquez so that y'all can redline it, look at it. The other thing that I wanted to mention, Mayor, because it's also very important for us, is the census. I know that right now the whole focus has been on COVID-19, and rightfully so. It's a life and death situation. However, the census is also extremely critical that our citizens respond to that. It bothers me that Valley is probably one of the lowest respond rates in the state, and the state of Texas is below the national average, and we're the lowest in the Valley. Our people don't, they don't deserve to be the bottom. We need to be on top. We need to answer the census. This will determine where $675 billion that the congressman and his other people in Congress, his friends, have allocated to the state and to us. And if we don't get counted, we're not going to get our fair share of those $675 billion. And this is for 10 years. And this is a one-time shot. I mean, it's not like, well, I didn't get counted last year, I'll do it now. It's only, it goes for 10 years. If we don't get counted, that's it. For 10 years, we're stuck with what we get. So, you know, I think we all need to push that the census must be answered. I realize we have a pandemic in our hands, and we need to take care of that. But there's other things in life that must go on, and we need to take care of those too. Again, Mayor, thank you so much. Congressman, always a pleasure to have you. Ryan, certainly thank you for your words. And Dr. Vasquez, I don't know what I'd do without you.
Thank you, Judge Vera. Thank you for your leadership. With us today, we also have, I know he's been having technical difficulties, but we have State Representative Ryan Guillen, and he's on the line. Can you hear us, Ryan? Hello, Ryan, can you hear us? I know he's a caller, and he's been having all kinds of technical difficulties today, but we'll blame it on the rain, which much needed rain and build on this city and Stark County, which by all means. No, I can't.
Hey,
hello,
can
Ryan,
you hear me?
Hear us? Yes.
Okay, I've been trying to speak, but I think I was muted or something.
Well, welcome.
Thank you for having me on.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Okay, great. All right, well, thank you for putting this together. I'm sorry we've been having internet problems here at the office, probably because of the rain, I guess. And but I want to start off by, of course, thanking the mayor for putting this together and giving me the opportunity to say a few words here in his virtual town hall meeting. First of all, I want to talk a little bit about state revenue and what we've been looking at here the last couple of months. For the month of March, our sales tax revenue was down 1.3%. Our total revenue in Texas was down 3.74%. So March wasn't quite as bad as people anticipated. April, we were down 9.28% in sales tax revenue, and these are comparisons from March of 2020 to March of 2019, April of 2020 to April of 2019. So in April, we were down 9.28% in sales tax revenue. When you compare this April to last April, and we were down 19.81%, pretty much about 20% in overall state tax revenue from April of 2020 to April of 2019. And so being down 20%, of course, we're just starting the month of May. May, I'm sure, will be another hit, hopefully not quite as large as April. But nonetheless, I mean, we're going to be looking at a shortfall coming next session and the next biennium. So to speak a little bit about unemployment, the unemployment, so since March 15th, the Texas Workforce Commission has taken over 2.2 million claims for unemployment insurance. And I think we've had about that many calls in our office. I'm exaggerating, but they've taken 2.2 million claims for unemployment insurance, and and paid over $3.7 billion in unemployment insurance benefit payments to Texans affected by COVID-19. Of that, $2.1 billion has gone toward the extra $600 per week payments, and $134.5 million has been paid in pandemic unemployment assistance, which is for cases that are not traditionally eligible for unemployment assistance. And just in the last week, over 1 million benefit payments have been made. The Workforce Commission's 4 main call centers and 4 contracted call centers with a combined staffing of about 1,200 are still running 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 days a week. There continues to be high call volumes into the telecenters. On Monday, there were 116,000 unique callers into the call centers who placed approximately 1.5 million call attempts just on that day, the day before yesterday, to the call centers. Early this morning, the agency deployed an upgrade to Larry, which is the chat bot on the agency website. This upgrade will allow the chat bot to receive requests for a contact back on the following questions: forgot my user ID, forgot my email password, account already connected with my social security number, need to update my application, and I need to talk to someone. These topics were selected for this initial launch because in all these scenarios, a claimant must speak to a customer service representative to resolve them. Since going online on March 30th, that chatbot has answered 2.9 million questions for over 800,000 individuals. The agency is also working to bring online the Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program. This is the additional 13 weeks of unemployment insurance benefits passed in the CARES Act for those who have exhausted their regular state-funded unemployment insurance benefits. Notices will begin going out to those who have exhausted their benefits this Saturday, with instructions for activating these additional benefits on their claims. Recently, the agency took action to make changes to child care payments made to providers that have closed due to COVID-19. Immediately following the beginning of the COVID-19 outbreak, the agency utilized federal child care funding received through the CARES Act to continue to make payments to child care providers who had closed as a result of COVID-19. Under the action taken, instead of continuing to pay providers based on referrals when they closed, the agency will be creating child care stabilization grants. These grants are intended to address a child care provider's fixed facility costs. They're not intended to cover other personnel or administrative costs, as the employees of the child care providers now qualify under the CARES Act for pandemic unemployment assistance. The grants are initially authorized for 3 months, which will be the summer months, June through August, and include several parameters for qualification. Let me talk a little bit about the orders, the governor's orders. I know the judge spoke a little bit about that. Of course, we've already gone through a shutdown, essentially, and now we are, as of today, and you know, they open, I think, May 1st, but restaurants, malls, theaters, museums, libraries are now able to open, and they're but at a 25% capacity. On the 8th, which I believe is this Friday, salons, barbershops, public pools be able to open. Public pools will also have the 25% capacity limit. On May 18th, gyms, manufacturers, non-essential manufacturers, non-essential office buildings will also be able to open at 25% capacity. Also So I closed on those that still remain closed as of today, and we don't have further reports on that yet. But what still remains closed are bars, massage, tattoo, and piercing studios, bowling alleys and arcades, and nursing homes to visit. So that's orders. Waivers, we talk a little bit about waivers. Throughout this COVID-19 pandemic, there have been some state waivers that have been implemented. STAR tests, for example, were waived for this school year. Driver's licenses, the expiration on driver's licenses were extended until further notice. It should be about 60 days from when DPS announces their plan. We had residential evictions were halted. Unemployment benefits were the search requirement and the waiting period were waived. Nursing licenses allowed the state is allowing retired and inactive license reactivation for nursing licenses. We waived permit requirements and allowed nurses, nursing graduates to go back to start working. Same thing with APRN graduates. Waived license requirements, and they're allowed to get straight to work. Physician in training are also allowed to work in hospitals. Therapy, telehealth, speech and occupational therapies are able to work with their clients through telehealth. Pharmacists and pharmacy techs, their expiration dates on their licenses were waived. The chronic pain prescriptions by phone were allowed. The commercial vehicles size, weight, and oversize requirements were waived. Restaurant grocery sales were allowed for bulk food products, and restaurant alcohol delivery was also allowed. Most of those are pretty much the majority of them go through mid-May and may or may not be extended. So we're waiting on word on whether or not these things will be extended. We've had a lot of questions in the last number of weeks from constituents about the authority of local officials and the local orders, and so I've been having to explain to most of these folks that have called about this or that have communicated with us about this, and we bring up the Texas Disaster Act of 1975. And essentially, the Texas Disaster Act of 1975 allows mayors and county judges the authority to, and I want to take it straight from the code here. It allows them the authority to control ingress to and egress from a disaster area under the jurisdiction and authority of the county judge or mayor, and control the movement of persons and the occupancy of premises in that area during a local declaration of disaster. And so what that means is that during a declaration of disaster, a local declared disaster, the county judge and the mayor have the authority that the governor has within their jurisdictions. The only limit to that authority is if the governor specifically in an order says that certain things cannot be overridden. And so that's what I had to say about local authority. The state, the governor I still recommend, of course, and does the CDC and as does the governor, everybody you hear from, just about everybody you hear from, you need to continue to wash and sanitize your hands. You should continue to wear a mask. You should maintain social distancing. You should disinfect surfaces every chance you get. Every time you touch or somebody touches a surface, disinfect that surface. Stay home when you're sick, and get tested if you think you need to get tested. If anything that we can do, during this time period or after to help in any way, please don't hesitate to give us a call here at the office at 956-716-4830.
Thank you so much, Representative Guillen, for your leadership through this. And thank you for coming on. And I'm sure that people will be contacting you as they already have, and you've always been accessible to our community. So thank you for the work that you do and for your presentation. And continuing along the same lines with Representative Guillen and what Dr. Vasquez has echoed, and Judge and Congressman Cuellar, we must continue to safeguard the health and wellness of our community. And with that, I know that these new orders in place, for example, of opening of salons and barbershops and reopening the state of Texas, and it has been a gradual process. And we've instituted a program with our businesses, which, by the way, our business community has done a tremendous job, and they are to be commended for the work that they've done and the leadership that they've shown, and also with the compliance and the sacrifices that they've implemented throughout, and they have endured it. And with that, we have a program through our code enforcement that I know the governor of Texas set certain minimum standards for the state, but we also included in part of our additional protocols is, and this is something we instituted a campaign. It's called Rio Grande City Top Rated, and it's COVID-19 Best Business Practices. And what we're doing is to continue to promote safe protocols, and not just the minimum standards, but going above and beyond the minimum standards, because some of these were recommendations. For example, to name a few, the recommendation to wear facial covering. But with this campaign, part of the COVID-19 Best Business Practices includes not just recommending, but actually businesses mandating that their customers and the employees continue to wear facial coverings. And that's just one of them. But again, it's going beyond the minimum standards. And I know we've already gone out in the community and placed some of these in local businesses that have committed to continuing to practice the best business practices regarding COVID-19, and again, going beyond the minimum standards. And I encourage all businesses here in Rio Grande City and the surrounding communities to follow the minimum standards, but go above and beyond those minimum standards. So if you wish to be part of this campaign, which, by the way, it seems that the entire business community has committed, and we'll be glad to go and visit your businesses and be part of this campaign to continue to promote best practices regarding COVID-19. And all you need is, of course, contact our code enforcement, as well as the city of Rio Grande City, and we'd be glad to help you with this process to not only promote your business, but also it's a win-win, because in a sense, we're helping the community to remain safe, to stay safe, and continue to promote all these safe protocols that we already have established through the help of Dr. Vasquez, Judge Vera, and many of the other local officials and instituted. So again, thank you so much for being part of this. And I encourage all businesses to continue this, especially now that more and more businesses are opening up. And let's see what we can continue to do together to ensure best practices and protocols for a safer community here in Rio Grande City. So aside from that, I also wanted to touch up on the economic recovery and future of Rio Grande City. And of course, just to keep the people abreast of the businesses that are coming online, because, and by the way, this is something that we must stress, is that although we have been dealing with a global pandemic, and we're talking about historical global pandemic, the local, state, and federal government employees continue to work beyond the pandemic. And this here, for example, yes, they're dealing with a pandemic and addressing the issues, but they're also working at the future of our community. And this hasn't stopped. This Rio Grande Village, which is right across Walmart, is continuing to move. They're still laying the groundwork and the infrastructure. And this is somewhat of what it's going to look like. And this is the future of Rio Grande City and our community. And of course, there is much development and future development as well. And continuing with the next slide, right now, there's still, we're looking at, if you're looking at this diagram here, is Chick-fil-A. I know we already announced this, but the Chick-fil-A, Starbucks, Whataburger, the Buffalo Wings and Rings, and Hilton Hotel. And there's still others that we're working with, or that developers working with, and very soon we'll be announcing more of the users that are going to be coming to this, to the Rio Grande Village. But it's looking great. And again, this is something that going beyond the global pandemic, these are things that we still have in the forefront, that people are still working, even though we're managing this global pandemic. Employees are continuing to work at, whether it's at the county level, at the city levels. And this is something that I applaud, by the way, the cities of La Grulla, Escobar, Roma, Rio Grande City, and the entire community at large there are focusing on what do we do beyond this pandemic. And of course, without losing sight that we need to continue to deal with this pandemic and continue to practice the safe protocols. So next, if you look at the next slide, this is something that we're looking at beyond this whole area. You have, if you're looking at from an aerial view, I should say, you're looking at the area, the purple area, of course, is that new development. But there are several sites that are highlighted here that we will be announcing in the next several weeks, new users that are going to be coming to this area. And yes, I know it is congestion, and I know that there are things that we need to continue to work through. But as we move forward and viewing the future of Rio Grande City, it is going to continue to grow and prosper. And I know it's going to be, as State Representative Guillen mentioned, I know that these last few months have been difficult when it comes to monies that are going to be coming in our way. However, in reference to sales tax and some of these others, but we're still working through it. We're still trying to manage those resources to accommodate for the future of our communities, because the fact is that we are going to get through, we are getting through this pandemic slowly. I know it is difficult. I know that we might still see a spike in new cases. However, we still need to manage them through our local health authority, Dr. Vasquez and Judge Vera, and the local officials and medical personnel. This is something we're going to continue to work with. But again, let's not lose track of the future of our area too, and some of the areas that we're going to continue to promote and develop, and the future development of our community. And of course, jobs, creating new jobs, creating other areas of retail, restaurants, hospitality, light industrial. We're looking at a cold storage facility as well near the port of entry, and multiple other opportunities coming our way. So, and I just wanted to give the public a general view of what's coming as well, and the future of our community. Now, with that, we also have on the line we have Mr. Roel Gomez with USDA, and at this time, I'll give him the opportunity to address our audience. Mr. Gomez, are you with us? And let's see if they're with Mr. Gomez.
We should have Roel Gomez from USDA and Angela Burton. One of y'all?
Here.
Okay, Roel,
Hello?
go ahead.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I want to thank you, Mayor, for everything you're doing in Rio Grande City. Judge Vera, Representative Guillen, of course, our Congressman, who without his help, we would not be able to have some of these funding opportunities from USDA. He's always been a champion for rural development and rural communities. Because of your efforts, Congressman, Stark County has been a big beneficiary of USDA rural development funding. And for those that don't know, rural development operates a very broad range of grant and loan programs that are critical to rural communities. These programs include grant and loan financing for water, wastewater, infrastructure, community facilities, broadband, housing, renewable energy, and business development. Like the Congressman always says, rural development is very diverse. We deliver over 40 programs. We can literally build a small community from the ground up. So I want to say thank you. We do have an office in Rio Grande City at the USDA Service Center. It's a sub-office, so we have someone there every Wednesday, Roberto Rodriguez, who's been doing a great job with the home improvement grants for the elderly. He has done hundreds, helped hundreds of families in Stark County. And so he's there every Wednesday, and actually he's been there every day since we've been working remotely since all this started. So I do just want to say some of the programs and some of the funding that we brought into Stark County with the help of Congressmen, including the City of La Grulla $12 million water project, of which over $10 million was in the form of a grant. City of Roma, we had over $7 million in a couple of much needed drainage projects. Y'all were talking about rain earlier, which is great. Again, hundreds of home improvement grants for elderly homeowners in Stark counties, many new home loans as well. Our home loans, our interest rates are at 3%, as low as they've been in a long time. We had a $300,000 rural business development grant to the Rio Grande City EDC for an incubator project. And Mayor, you're aware. I don't know if the Congressman's aware, but we did. You guys did receive $27,000 community facility grant for your fire department, bunker gear for your firefighters. We've helped all the rural water supply corporations, Rio Water, El Saus, Falcon, Union, El Tanque, have all been great beneficiaries of USDA rural development help. And Communities Unlimited has helped us provide technical assistance to all those rural water supply corporations. So I want to thank them. We have many applications right now. So hopefully we're going to continue to bring in more money.
the one thing that we are offering right now is any one of our borrowers, whether it's a city or an individual homeowner or a nonprofit or a rural water supply corporation, anybody that's been affected because of the COVID-19, we are offering some deferral servicing options. They just need to reach out to us, and we'll walk them through that process. So once again, Mayor, I want to thank you and Judge Vera, Representative Guillen, Congressman Cuellar, for all your help and leadership. And I'll be around to listen to any questions from the community or anyone. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Gomez.
Hey,
Sure.
Roel, before we move to Angela, let me just thank Roel. He's been with us the whole day. I think this is the fourth county we've done today. I want to thank him and for the monies that he's brought in, millions of dollars for Stark County. I know we're still working on the judge. I'm looking at you right now. We're working on the courthouse, so hopefully we'll have more grant than loan on that one. So we're still working on that, and we certainly want to work with you on that. And Angela Burton from SBA, I think she should be on the line, but I want to thank her. I want to thank Rose Benavides and the Stark County Industrial Development, because as you know, on that project that you highlighted, there were state dollars, local dollars, and a lot of federal dollars also in there. So I want to thank the federal agencies that brought in the money for the roads and all that. So Angela.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you go into the PPP, the difference between the PPP and the EIDL program, and how people can apply for that? And also mention that the state of Texas has gotten more money than any other state, I believe, under the PPP from the SBA than any other state, which shows you the power of the economy that we have here in the state of Texas. And I know, without going into details, we've sent in billions of dollars to Austin, billions of dollars. And one of the things, we need to work on is to make sure, and I'm not talking about Ryan, but I'm talking about other folks there, that they bring in the monies to the border counties, because it is billions of dollars have gone into hospitals, into healthcare providers, into education, other areas. And I know that the governor is going to go to the White House tomorrow to talk about that. But I always say that got to get the money to the border areas because of the billions of dollars. But Angela, if you can just explain the two different programs and what they mean for Stark County.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for providing SBA the opportunity to participate in this important town hall meeting. I have to say that the SBA has been working day and night to support small businesses all over the nation, and especially in our district, in the Lower Rio Grande Valley district. First and foremost, I want to let folks know that Paycheck Protection Program funds are still available. Our first phase of the Paycheck Protection Program went very quickly. We funded more than 14 years worth of loans in 14 days. So we've been very busy. As of yesterday, the SBA, along with our more than 5,400 participating lenders, have approved almost $2.4 million loans for more than $181 billion. So we're working feverishly to get these loan dollars out. I encourage borrowers to contact their lender immediately to discuss application eligibility. If you don't have a lender, we can obviously help provide one or help find one for you. These loans can be partially or fully forgivable, but you have to keep your employees on payroll with the proceeds. You may also pay rent, utilities, or mortgage interest with the Paycheck Protection Program funds. I'd also like to quickly give a shout out to our district community lenders. Many of them truly stepped up to support our small business communities, even though they were new to SBA programs. So a lot of the community lenders reached out to their customers, their small business customers, and helped them through the process of a PPP loan. So the first step for a small business would visit with their lender to make sure that they're participating in the program. Recently, the SBA began accepting new economic injury disaster loan applications on a limited basis only in order to provide unprecedented relief to U.S. agricultural businesses. So for more than 30 years, SBA has been prohibited by law from providing disaster assistance to agricultural businesses. However, as a result of the unprecedented legislation enacted for COVID-19, farmers, ranchers, and other agricultural businesses will now have access to emergency working capital. Now, these loans can have an interest rate of 3.75, and the term can be as long as or up to 30 years to help keep agriculture businesses viable while bringing stability to the nation's important food supply chains. Agricultural businesses include businesses engaged in legal production of food and fiber, ranching and raising of livestock, aquaculture, and other farming and agriculture-related industries. And those are agricultural businesses that have less than 500 or fewer employees. In order to apply for this particular, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan for agricultural businesses, folks may go to, and this is an online application at www.sba.gov/coronavirus to fill out the online application. Now, for folks that already applied for an EIDL loan, submitted before the portal stopped taking or accepting applications, I think it was April 15th, those loans are still being processed on a first in, first out basis. Now, some of the other programs, temporary programs established by the CARES Act to include SBA Express Bridge loans, which enables small businesses who currently have a business relationship with an SBA Express lender will be able to access up to $25,000 quickly. And if a business has a current SBA loan, our SBA debt relief program will automatically pay the principal, interest, and fee of any current 7A, 504, or microloans for a period of 6 months. So if folks currently have a SBA loan, they can get their loans paid for 6 months, but they do need to visit with their lender. And then any new 7A or a business that wants to obtain a new loan from SBA, it issued prior to September 27th, the SBA will automatically pay the principal and interest. And then finally, what's really important is, since we have had disasters in our area, flooding and whatnot, if you have a current SBA disaster home or business loan from a previous disaster, SBA is providing automatic deferments through December 31st, 2020. So I encourage folks to apply for any of these loans. I also want to remind everyone that we do have our free advising through our resource partners, SCORE, the University of Texas RGV-SBDC, or if you're a veteran, our UTRGV Veteran Business Outreach, and they are all advising via phone and teleconference at this time. So if you should have any questions, myself and my staff were fielding lots of questions and emails. Please don't hesitate to contact me. My email address is angela.burton@sba.gov, or my mobile phone number is 956-793-0224. And I look forward to hearing from folks and assisting as many small business people as we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burton. Certainly appreciate those efforts. And we'll go ahead and relay all this, these contact numbers and email addresses to the public to make sure that they're able to to access the services of your respective departments. And before we turn it over to the live Q&A, which we'll start off with some of the thank you to our media outlets that are joining us, which we have La Pistolera, we have Channel 23, Channel 4, Telemundo, La Estrella, and Channel 5. And before we open it up to questions, you know, we have with us also Ms. Rose Benavides with the Stark County Industrial Foundation. Ms. Benavides, are you on the line? And if you are, I know that they were having some technical difficulties in her area. Can you hear us, Rose? Are you on the line?
Yes, I can hear you, Mayor.
Okay, I'm gonna turn it over. Is there anything that you would like to add to today's town hall?
No, you know, we want to just thank everyone for allowing us to be part of not just the recovery, but most importantly, ensuring that we're continuing collaborating to bring more development, because I know the focus here is continuing how to fight COVID, but also what's happening next, and what can we do as a community to ensure that we'll be able to have some economic ability moving forward. So we'll continue our efforts, enforce them, and continue to be great partners moving forward.
Okay, so let's go ahead. Thank you, Ms. Benavides, for the work that you do, and reiterating that partnership between the city, Stark County Industrial Foundation, the county, and of course the U.S. government, should I say government funding as well for that major project and future projects that are in line for Rio Grande City and Stark County as a whole. So with us today, we have La Pistolera. So we're going to open it up to Q&A, and if all the presenters are available. Ms. Gonzalez, are you with us? Are you on the line? Okay, well, we can come back to her. We also have Channel 23. Is a representative from Channel 23, Channel 4 with us? And if so, what questions? And we'll go ahead and give each one 2 questions to begin with, and then we'll wrap it around. Are you with us? You can turn on your mic. And do we have then Telemundo at this point? And we can, again, come back around. We have Telemundo on the line, and do you have any questions? I know the majority of the presentation has been in English. However, we can answer any questions in Spanish as well.
Muchas gracias. ¿Me escuchan?
Sí, los escuchamos.
Muchas gracias. Bueno, aquí de parte de Telemundo hemos estado pendientes de todo lo que se ha venido hablando, pero queríamos saber si nos pueden decir en español, en resumen, qué es lo que pretenden que la audiencia en ese momento conozcan por parte del condado Stark.
Ok. So, empezaremos con Judge Vera.
Please, yeah.
Ok. Bueno, lo que yo hablé fue de tocante la orden del gobernador que firmó ayer y tomó efecto inmediatamente los cambios que hizo en la orden número 21. Y lo que es que abrió todos los negocios que no son esenciales. Sin embargo, esos negocios que él abrió van a abrirse el viernes, unos y otros el 18 de mayo. Tienen restricciones, no están que pueden hacer lo que como ellos quieran. Tienen muchas restricciones. Ahorita precisamente estamos trabajando para hacer una orden local que explique qué es lo que se tiene que hacer. Por ejemplo, en los restaurantes que abrieron al 25% de capacidad, qué es lo que se tiene que hacer en las barberías, en los diferentes negocios que se van a abrir o ya se abrieron. Vamos a tener esa orden pues para el viernes de seguro, pero queremos saber si la tenemos para mañana para entregárselo a los mayores y al doctor Vasquez para que lo aprueben ellos, que lo vean o que hagan los cambios que ellos crean que se necesitan y luego ya para finalize la orden esa. La otra cosa que mencioné fue del census. Aunque ahorita sabemos que el COVID-19 es probablemente lo más importante, lo más grave que tenemos ahorita, porque es de vida y muerte, pero el census también es de mucha importancia. El estado de Texas ahorita está abajo del promedio nacional y el Valle está abajo del medio estatal. Eso, estamos muy abajo, necesitamos subir esos números porque esos números de ahí depende el futuro del Valle y del condado de Starr por los siguientes 10 años. No es algo que pueda decir uno el año que entra, pues déjame hacerlo ahora. Tenemos nada más esa ventanita que vamos a tener para registrarnos y que nos cuenten, porque cada persona que se cuente es dinero federal que va a entrar al condado. Ahora, otra cosa de mucha importancia, y el congresista Cuellar lo puede verificar, es que de esos números también determina la representación que vamos a tener en el estado para que le ayuden al representante Ryan Guillen y en el federal para que le ayuden al congresista Cuellar. El census es muy importante y necesitamos que la gente sepa que tienen que contestar. Ahora, una cosa que no lo dije en inglés, pero lo voy a decir en español. El census no pregunta si eres ciudadano o no eres. Y esa información no se le puede dar a ninguna otra agencia. Es nada más para el Departamento de Comercio, para que se use para el Departamento de Comercio. That's pretty much what I talked about, Mayor.
Thank you. Congressman Cuellar, ¿gustaría comentar un comentario en español?
Sí, simplemente hay dineros del gobierno federal para ayudar a los negocios pequeños. Tenemos a Angela Burton del SBA que puede hablar de los dólares que hay para las compañías. Ahorita en el Congreso estamos listos para regresar. Puede ser la semana que viene, puede ser la semana siguiente, para poner más dólares para los negocios pequeños, para las escuelas, para los bancos de comida. Y también un debate que estamos viendo es si lo vamos a ayudar a las ciudades, a los condados, a los estados con dólares federales. Pero eso es algo que ahorita estamos viendo a ver si puede haber un arreglo y esperamos tener un arreglo pronto y regresar en una semana, 2 semanas para votar y mandar más dólares para nuestras comunidades en el Valle. Gracias.
Thank you, Congressman Cuellar. Dr. Vasquez, ¿cualquier otro comentario?
Gracias por la oportunidad, Mayor. Una vez más, quiero hacer varios puntos para recalcar. En primer lugar, el índice de casos en Starr County se ha mantenido muy bajo a través de toda esta epidemia, a través de la labor en conjunto de las diferentes autoridades y la comunidad. Hemos tenido solamente 10 casos positivos de 755 casos que hemos hecho test en nuestra comunidad. Eso nos da una incidencia de 0.75%, la más baja por mucho en cualquiera de las comunidades del sur de Texas. En segundo lugar, quiero decir que el hospital de Rio Grande, el Starr County Memorial Hospital, tiene capacidad plena para atender pacientes que tengan la infección del COVID-19. Hasta los momentos y a través de todo el curso de la epidemia no hemos tenido ninguna admisión en nuestro hospital. Así que tenemos el equipo necesario, tenemos el número de ventiladores, así como los recursos humanos necesarios para proveer standard of care treatment o tratamiento a todo lo que se puede necesitar a la gente de nuestra comunidad. El tercer punto que quiero mencionar, que tenemos una actividad de examinación, de testing masiva en este condado. Hemos tenido en la disposición desde hace más de mes y medio cantidades ilimitadas del RT-PCR. lo que es el denominado gold standard para hacer el diagnóstico de la infección del COVID. Y ahora recientemente, desde hace 2 semanas, hemos iniciado una actividad masiva también de determinación de anticuerpos, los cuales van a ser fundamentales para poder procesar y seguir adelante en la reapertura del Estado. Hay que mencionar que tenemos que seguir protegiendo a las comunidades a mayor riesgo, las personas mayores a los 65 años o todas aquellas que tienen enfermedades crónicas asociadas y que son las personas que con más frecuencia se ven afectadas de forma severa, inclusive casos de muerte asociado a la enfermedad del COVID. El último punto que quiero mencionar, el sentido común tiene que seguir prevaleciendo. La reactivación de la economía es algo fundamental en nuestro estado. Sin embargo, no podemos dejar que la reactivación de la economía infrinja efectos negativos sobre los sistemas de salud de nuestra comunidad, y para eso debe prevalecer el sentido común. Hay cosas en esta comunidad que podemos seguir haciendo para mantener este número de casos bajo sin afectar la reactivación económica que se ha promovido a nivel del gobernador y del gobierno federal. Entonces, pido una vez más a la comunidad que el sentido común prevalezca, que sigan escuchando las instrucciones, que eviten aglomeraciones de personas en lugares cerrados. Hay actividades que, aun y cuando sean permitidas ahora a través de las leyes del gobernador, no tienen un sentido sanitario fundamental. Entonces, si podemos prevenir estas actividades, no importa que estos negocios o estas actividades estén abiertas por mandato o por ley. Nuestro sentido común debe prevalecer y debemos saber cuándo debemos participar en estas actividades y cuándo no. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Dr. Vasquez. Representative Guillén, cualquier comentario en español. Okay, he might not be on the line. So, continuing with that, pues muchísimas gracias, Telemundo, por acompañarnos el día de hoy. Y aquí realmente siguiendo promoviendo los protocolos, como decía Dr. Vasquez, los protocolos que necesitamos que mantenernos para mantener esa salud, para mantener nuestro bienestar aquí en el condado de Starr. Y siguiendo todas estas prácticas, hemos instituido un programa, una campaña para los negocios que sigan permaneciéndose con esas prácticas, esos protocolos arriba de lo mínimo. Yo sé que se instituyeron minimum standards. El gobernador de Texas, Greg Abbott, instituyó minimum standards, pero realmente lo que queremos nosotros es que los negocios, por ejemplo, practiquen más allá de lo mínimo. Y en eso esta campaña es para promover los protocolos más altos para el estado de salud. Es algo que estamos promoviendo y siguiendo de promover para la salud y mantener ese bienestar y la salud de Rio Grande City y el condado de Starr. We also have Channel 5. Is Channel 5 with us? Do you have any questions from Channel 5?
Yes, Mayor, thank you very much. Thank you all for giving your input. I have 2 questions for Dr. Vasquez. The one, I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. You mentioned something about a 10%. Did I hear 10% exposure, or was that? I'm not sure. I just wanted. You mentioned 10%. I want to make sure I understood you.
And probably you heard that number before, Christian, and I cannot talk about the general population just yet. We have tested the hospital district employees, 280 employees, and out of those, we have 28 cases of positive IgGs and IgM, which means exposure and to have developed immunity or some sort of an immunity. Doesn't mean that there are positive cases. This is not people that is sick. It's people that has been exposed and have developed antibodies against the virus. So that's the prevalence that we have within the hospital district employees. As time goes by and we progress into this testing initiative, we are going to be doing these same activities within the cities as well as within the county and perhaps in the school districts. That will allow us to identify how many people have been exposed, how many people is still at risk of exposure, and how many are currently exposed. So that 10% is just in the hospital district alone, but I predict that once we have tested a significant amount of people within our community, perhaps 2,000 or 3,000 people, we are going to see a prevalence of about 5 to 7%. And that is being somehow the standard throughout the nations. There are places that they have a lot more than others. If you were to take examples as New York, for example, the estimate prevalence rate is somewhere around 25%. In some other communities have been about 15%. Here in the Valley, I am assuming that we will be somewhere around the 7-8%. That means, once again, it's not that 7% of all the population is infected. It means that people have been exposed to this virus, have developed antibodies, and most of them have remained asymptomatic and did not get sick.
And that's interesting to hear because I forget the exact number of confirmed active or confirmed cases that Stark County had. I believe it's 10 or around there.
Right now, yes, 10 cases throughout the 6 weeks that we are in this. We have had just 10 positive cases.
But those 28 hospital employees would not be counted towards the 10.
Because those are not positive cases. Positive cases, as CDC guidelines, are people have been tested positive in the RT-PCR. So people that have had the swab test and they have come back positive, that is the gold standard for diagnosis. What we are doing now is to try to determine the prevalence or the penetrance index of this disease within the communities. What is being tested here is the presence of immunoglobulins or antibodies against the virus, which this tells you is how the penetrance of this disease is within a community. This is well known. This is well known throughout the country. The number of cases that are positive for the virus are very, very different to the penetrance of this disease within the communities. We know that just about 20 to 25% of the cases present symptoms, and in some cases, moderate or severe symptoms. 70 or 80% of the cases are either asymptomatic or with very mild disease. That's what we are trying to identify with the antibody testing. How many cases are there, or no cases, but how many people have been exposed to this virus and have developed antibodies, because this is going to be very important when you are talking about trying to resume some sort of a normal life in the future.
So my second question, Dr. Vasquez, sorry, tracking cases in rural areas. I'm thinking parts like La Gloria, the ranch areas. Is there any difference in how you do tracking in those areas? Because it's necessary, you've got to track in those areas as well, versus how you do it in an urban area like, McAllen or Brownsville or places like that.
Definitely, I believe there is a big difference, and somehow I think that this has been the key of our success, okay? Because we are in a smaller community, the local physicians are all well involved and related with each other. We are close to the different authorities, and I am talking about county authorities, city authorities, municipalities, school districts. So that close integration in the way that we work along with the Texas Department of Health had allowed us a more personalized treatment for each one of these patients. I can tell you out of my memory, I know each one of those 10 cases that are positive. I have talked with each one of them. I have talked with their primary care physicians. I have communicated with the Texas Department of Health, Region 11, medical director, many times throughout the week about each one of those cases. We know how many days of isolation they have left, how many of them are out of isolation. In each community itself, the city police departments, the local health departments, or the local entities that take care of health issues in each one of these communities are very, very much involved with us in how do we manage and control these cases. Communities itself are calling us and reporting on possible violations of quarantine orders on each one of these individuals. We have been contacted, local law enforcement to try to enforce this. So yes, answering to you, I think that being a smaller community had helped us a lot in the way that we are personalized, taking care of each one of these cases.
Great. Thank you for the answers. That's it from me.
Thank you.
Need to turn your mic on, Mayor.
Thank you, Judge. Appreciate it. Just to do another round, do we have La Pistolera on the line? Do you have any questions? And if not, do we have channel 23, channel 4 on the line? And do you have any questions? Before we will go to the general public, do we have any other questions from Telemundo? Cualquier otra pregunta de Telemundo? Okay, so what we'll do at this point is, I know Ms. Custer has numerous questions from the public. And Ms. Custer, if you're listening to me, what are some of the questions that the public is having? And that way we can answer some of those questions.
Mayor, if I may, I'll answer that. We're working on it right now as we speak. We're going to have a virtual meeting with some of them possibly tomorrow or Friday. I just got an email a little while ago. I haven't been able to answer it, but we are trying to work something out with them. You know, I talked to some of them, and I know Dr. Vasquez also talked to some of them. And what we told them was, help us help you. You know, give us ways that you can assure us that your clients will be safe. And I asked them to come up with a plan that they could send to us so we can review and again, redline it. And hopefully, you know, we can come to some agreement. And I'm sure we can, so that hopefully we can open them up maybe as soon as Monday. However, there will be some restrictions on sanitizing and ensuring that the clients are safe and that we don't jeopardize the health of any of our senior citizens. So there's a good possibility that by Monday, hopefully we'll have a plan.
You have an echo, Ms. Custer. There's an echo.
I believe I am ready to answer, Mayor. I heard the question partially well. And I am aware of that comment, Ms. Kostler. I can assure to the community that the testing efforts that we have been conducting through the drive-through facility at STC are being fully operational every single day. We have been working 7 days a week for most of all of this period. Just recently, the last couple of weeks, they have closed on Sunday because the number of tests that we were conducting on the weekends was really low. So it was not cost effective for them to keep opening on Sundays. However, testing has been conducted 6 days a week, at least during the last 2 weeks, and 7 days a week before that. We have been conducting RT-PCR there, and that testing is the gold standard in the process of making diagnosis for COVID-19 infection. Throughout the county initiative and with the collaboration of the county judge as well as Hidalgo County Judge, there is not been any charge to people that had not insurance in order to perform this RT-PCR or swab test. Most recently, we have been promoting an initiative for antibody testing, and that is what is going through what is called the rapid testing. Initially, they were conducted 230 rapid testing in our community. Recently, the last week, they ran out of this rapid testing, and we are in the process of getting a batch of 10,000 rapid testing kits available for our community. That had not materialized up to now. I've been promised that it was going to be sometime between yesterday or today. I am not aware that they have received them yet. However, at the testing facility, they are conducting blood draw, and those samples are being sent to Houston, and through a lab technique, we are identifying immunoglobulins as well. So to answer to the questions, I am not aware that we have turned around anybody for any reason whatsoever. If anybody has been denied service, I please would like to have information on that by that specific person, and we will take the corrective measures to provide the most important part of all of this, which is the testing to our communities. So far, 755 people have been tested in Starr County, and that is 624 people from the drive-through facility at STC and 131 people that were tested at the Roma Community Center by the Governor's Abbott initiative through the National Guard. I also want to mention that now in the next few days, throughout the same type of initiative and with the state efforts and mediated by TDH as well, we are going to be conducting further testing in different communities throughout the county. We are going to have a testing facility for a day in La Casita, one in San Isidro, one in La Rosita, and we are in conversations to have one in Falcón and Salileño area as well. So testing is being conducted in a very significant way in our county, and once again, we have a 0.7% prevalence of this disease in our community, which is a number unheard of in the valley.
Parks here in Rio Grande City, we are looking at the next week or so. We're looking at around the 15th. And of course, we'll be having that conversation with our city commission and Dr. Vasquez as well. And but they're coming. We're already looking at opening them up. However, we're gonna continue to follow protocols and extreme caution, especially in sports that are more human-to-human contact. So minimizing that human-to-human contact, at least through the course of opening. So yes, there are going to be some restrictions. We're looking at about a week's time when we will be opening parks. But right now, we have the trail remain open, but we will be opening parks very soon. And again, somewhere along the 15th. Judge Vera?
Yes, of course, the state park is open, and I believe everyone's aware the park is open, and it does have no more than 5 people at one place. County parks will also be looked at and possibly be open each week. You know, Mayor, I would like to add on to what Dr. Vasquez stated. There's a lot of echo.
Yes.
Okay, about the testing that will be done by National Guard. Saturday, May the 9th, they'll be at La Casita Center. Sunday, May 10th, Mother's Day, they'll be at La Rosita Fire Department. And Monday, May the 11th, they'll be at the Abel Gonzalez Center in San Isidro. Anyone that wants to go does not need a doctor referral, and it's free. It's free to anyone that wants to go. When you go, they will ask you what symptoms do you have or anything like that, but really just a headache, aching of the muscles, whatever, that's all that's required for you to get the test. And we do encourage that as many people as possible to go. One, it's free, and it gives you peace of mind, and it's done by National Guard.
Thank you, Judge Vera. I have a question here that was sent to me, and one of the questions is regarding water treatment plants. And just to reiterate the point that our water treatment plant is fully automated. So really it's very minimal, if not any, contact as far as employees. It's all automized or automatized. No, that's not the correct word. Say automatic, bottom line. And what it is implementing the steps and protocols. And there's very limited human interaction with particular water or chemicals. So again, water is safe. There's no contagion there, and it continues to remain. And again, it's fully automatic. So at this point, water treatment plant is viable, and we don't have any issues pertaining to any cross-contamination or anything pertaining to water. Also, I have another question here for Congressman Cuellar. Congressman Cuellar, and the question here, can you hear me? Congressman?
Yeah, I can hear you.
And the question is just what are some of the most some of the challenges that you experience in Congress during this global pandemic?
Well, I think part of the challenges have to do with the amount of money that we are putting into the system. As you know, at the end of this year, we were going to be looking at a deficit of about $950 billion because, as you know, anytime there was a tax cut some years ago, anytime you have less money going out, but the money keeps going out, you're going to have a deficit. So we saw, we were looking before COVID-19, a deficit of $950 billion, almost $1 trillion. Now it's estimated, and depends what else we do before the year's over, we're looking at $3.7 trillion deficit, depending what else we have from now and the the year, when we open up the government, or should I say the economy completely, we're looking at 3.3 trillion. At the end of the day, somebody's got to pay this. At the end of the day, we got to understand that it's a lot of money that we have to spend. And I know some people who were complaining about $800 billion of a bailout. Here we are now talking about $3.7 trillion. So that's one of the hardest things we're looking at doing. And for ag, for homeland, and for defense appropriations committee, we have calls on different items, whether it's ag, here, on the commerce. We, I know the judge emphasized that this weekend. I got to emphasize census as much as so not being there, and the nature of it and other folks, we're a people's person. We spend time with people. Same thing in Congress. We're used to talking to folks about getting things done, and now it's Zoom calls, it's Maestro calls, conference calls, and it's just very, very different. So the big difference is how we operate as a Congress, number one. And number two, the large number of monies that we're putting in, because everybody's asking us for money. But at the end of the day, we have to pay for it. And one of the big ticket items that we'll be looking at next time we're up there in DC is how much money, and if we are going to give money to cities, counties, states, on that. So,
You're breaking up there at the end, Congressman Cuellar. You know, we have another question. Can you hear me, Congressman Cuellar?
I believe Christian wanted to ask a question, Mayor.
Yes. Have another question by Channel 5.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for allowing the question again.
The amount of money that we're looking at, and how we operate as a Congress, and the advisory, just it's one of the probably one of the most attended and colleges. Yeah, and I'm sorry, we're getting some weather over here, so I'm Mayor. Go ahead and continue without me. I'll listen to y'all.
Thank you. We have Mr. Van Preysing. Mr. Preysing,
I just wanted to ask.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm here.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Ahead. Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to ask more generally, because it was mentioned a couple minutes ago, the support that Starr County is getting from the National Guard. Just in a more general sense, because you mentioned some of these specific events that are going to be coming up. Could you explain a little bit more about what the National Guard is doing to support the county?
Judge Vera?
Yes, the National Guard was an initiative from the governor, and he's sending them throughout the Texas, different communities, and it so happens that this last week and this week will be down here in the valley. We already had one of the sites in Roma, as Dr. Vasquez mentioned a little while ago, and they wanted to do 3 more sites here in Starr County. So the 3 sites that were selected was La Casita, San Isidro, and La Rosita. Dr. Vasquez now says that they're thinking about doing one at Falcon Heights or Salineño. That would be great. Hopefully our people will respond and they'll go, and it'll offset some of the expense that the county has for the indigent. So we're appreciative of the governor doing that, and certainly the National Guard helping us out with that. However, the National Guard is the swab. It's not the rapid test, and we do want to do the rapid test also.
Ms. Custer, do you have any other questions from the public? Okay. Yes, and in fact, we are promoting a campaign of continuing to use facial coverings in buildings and restaurants and retail, grocery stores, and continue that practice. And going back to the campaign that we instituted, if one of the best practices regarding COVID-19 is to continue the utilization of the social distancing, of course, the sanitizing, as well as the facial coverings for both employees and customers. And although it is highly recommended as a minimum standard set through the state, we're asking the businesses to actually mandate it within the business, so that way they continue to practice that. Now, as a government entity, we can no longer mandate it, but we can certainly ask businesses if they're willing to participate to continue to promote that, and not just recommend it, but required it's part of their practice. Now, that's something that they have to do on their own, and we applaud them, and we want them to continue to follow the practice. And I have seen it, by and large, people continue to use facial coverings And it has been great to work with our community because people here have done a tremendous job of following these safe protocols and following not just the mandates, but also the recommendations set forth by local health authorities and local governments. And that's something that we must continue to practice. And I encourage the public to continue using face coverings when they're inside a building, when they're in close proximity to somebody else, just simply for the sake of continuing to promote the health and wellness of our community. And again, part of the businesses, we ask all businesses to continue to promote that in inside buildings. I know we are also requiring it here inside City Hall and any of our city buildings. But again, that's something that individuals have to do within their respective departments, their respective organizations. And I encourage everyone to continue to follow that practice along with everything else that we've had, all these protocols that brought about the success that we've had here in Stark County. And of course, let's not let our guard down. And that's critical, that we do not let our guard down and allow this COVID-19 global pandemic to hit us harder in the second wave, because that's something we would not be in a position to handle. We definitely could not handle it in the first wave, and we did very well, but we definitely do not want the second wave to be worse than the first. Gentlemen, do y'all have anything else to add, Dr. Vasquez?
Yes, Mayor. Thank you again for the opportunity. I just want to touch a few issues that I believe they are very important in our community. Number one, as much as we went way ahead of the curve or with respect to other communities throughout the state or the valley in closing down or imposing restrictions to try to mitigate and contain this disease, I believe that we should now fall back and be one of the last to reopen and to start going full force ahead and losing all of the ground that we have gained being conservative and being proactive. So with that said, I believe that we need to put in place all of the possible initiatives that we have in hands to start reacting or recovering our economy. However, we do not have to let our guards down and let the economical factor influence in a detrimental way the health factor. That's number one. Number two, I believe that in the very few next days, we are going to have to face significant decisions that are going to be important in our community, but they do not necessarily have to do anything with the economical aspect of reopening the state. And I am talking specifically about some of the issues that the governor had allowed to go towards the future. Let's talk about graduations in high school. Let's talk about nursing home and order to restart visiting or allowing visits, and what the judge mentioned about adult daycare centers and daycare centers. Those are issues that we are going to study very, very closely in the next couple of days, and we will come with strong recommendations about how do we feel will be the safe way to face those situations. We do not want to compromise the health of our county and our community just because we went too quick or too fast and reactivate all of these issues.
Thank you, Dr. Vasquez. Judge Vera, anything else you would like to add to that?
No, Mayor, I think it got covered very well.
Thank you. So at this point, as we're going to conclude here, Ms. Custer, you have some comments? Well, thank you, and very well stated in reference to our community. It behooves us as a community for all of us to do our part individually, do our end, continue to practice all the safe protocols, and continue to have that mindset that this is not over. We must continue to heed all the warnings and continue to practice all these protocols, while at the same time keeping an eye on reopening. And that is something that I know it brings a little bit of fear and trepidation for some, the idea of reopening, but at the same time, let's find a way to marriage both of those, the reopening, but at the same time continue to factor in all these safe protocols as much as possible to continue to move forward in the direction of reopening, but with an eye on the prize that, hey, we need to continue to promote a safe community, a healthy community, and continue to follow all those safe practices. So with that, I want to thank you, all of you, for joining us. Congressman Cuellar, thank you, sir, for being a champion of Stark County as a whole. I know that you've been able to channel millions of dollars our way in the municipalities of La Grulla, Escobares, Roma, Rio Grande City, the San Isidro area, and Stark County as a whole. So thank you for representing us very well in DC and continuing to channel those millions of dollars our way. We cannot say enough, but thank you for joining us today. State Representative Guillen, I know you've always been a friend to Stark County and our municipalities and always accessible to our community. So thank you for joining us and for continuing to serve our community. Dr. Vasquez, thank you, sir, for leading us in this charge of maintaining our health and wellness of our community, and it bodes well for the accomplishments that we have had to this point, with continuing to practice that. So thank you, sir, for your leadership, for your direction, for your guidance, for your counseling in how to address this and being able to be where we're at today. So thank you, Dr. Vasquez. Judge Vera, certainly, sir, you're not a stranger to this and being a leader for many years in our community, sir. Thank you so much for being a part of our virtual town hall and continuing to serve during a global pandemic. Thank you. No, Mr. Gomez, USDA, Ms. Burden, thank you for joining us in this call and answering questions and having more information. And to the public, thank you so much for joining us. We will provide all the resources that were set forth today, so you can contact people. If you have any questions, please forward them to City Hall, and we can go ahead and come back and answer some of those questions. So with that, I know that we had a few difficulties, and nonetheless, we went a little bit longer than anticipated. However, it is all for the purpose of keeping the community informed and letting you know that we're here to serve you and continue to serve you as public servants, as local authorities, as individuals that want the best interest of our community. So with that, thank you so much. Once again, on behalf of Rio Grande City, on behalf of Stark County, and all the individuals that have put forth this effort today, thank you and God bless. Appreciate it.